meeting back in October. I kept the Inspector General busy while I was on the phone with him. I asked about the hearing, town meeting, if his response was that may be poor planning, that may be a moral thing, but without a local bylaw that says you can't do that, they did not break the law. As for the borrowing for the wind turbine, to include an audit done or not, he opined that the way to pursue that would be through public records request from the department, and if those are refused, then you could go to the Secretary of the Commonwealth for Public Records Law, the Attorney General's office, and you confer with your town council. So, like I said, while I was speaking with the Inspector General on the bidding thing, I asked him a list of questions while I had him. In anticipation of this subject, to have some answers, or at least from him, save from sending a letter, so they can respond back, if that's good enough if you take my word for it. But I asked on a number of things while I was speaking with the office. So, but as far as an agenda request, I would entertain that for our next meeting on the 10th. Anything else on that subject?
On any of the things that Julie just brought up? Like all the, I guess I would like to know, well, I just want to clarify, you want the payroll to go back to the light and water department instead of it being here because it's 30% of the work?
Mhm.
Correct? Okay, so I agree with that. A pilot payment, do we know, I thought, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the light and the water department was giving back money to the town already? Do they call it a pilot payment even though it's really not that? Is that an accurate statement? Like at annual town meeting, don't they get up and say we're, based on our revenues or whatever, we're giving X to the town? Am I wrong with that, or am I right with that?
No, that is how it has been done.
Okay, so there's a second part to my question, because if that was wrong, I wasn't gonna ask the rest. So, do we know that a formal pilot payment would be more or less? And would we be shooting ourselves in the foot by asking them to do a pilot? A formal, is there some kind of formula somewhere?
There is
that-
no formula.
So we have to come up with a formula based on
On the law.
the law?
Actually, if you look at there's a website, it's the Public Power Association.
Yeah.
There are examples of formula used to create a pilot,
Oh,
a payment
okay.
in lieu of taxes.
All right, I guess that's maybe what I was asking.
It's a percentage, and generally, it's a 4.5 to 5% of net revenue
Mhm.
that a lot of municipal light plants figure. And this was discussed in the Department of Revenue's financial review in 2009. Had to have a formal agreement, because as it goes right now, the light department has given money to the town, but the sum has varied from year to year. In other words, there has not been a set formula, a set way to come up with that money. Basically, it's been year to year, as I understand it, and the commission determines, an amount
Mhm.
that they donate at town meeting.
Okay.
But there is, like I said, on Public Power Association's page, there is an example of, in the New England area, of the public lighting plants, and the percentage numbers, formulas. And the average is 4.5 to 5%. Some do like a 2%, some do 6%. It's it goes across the board. But as far as a formal set number each year, it hasn't, if you look in town, annual town reports going back, there's no set number.
And there's never been a pilot payment from the water department,
Just from the light department?
just from the light department.
Okay.
And I do suspect that if we did have a formal agreement and a formal formula, that it probably would exceed what they're giving us now.
Yes, I did the 4% of their net revenue one year, and it came to almost $400,000 of net revenue. I think it was 7 million something. Yes.
I have a real problem with this idea, this concept of pilot program for the water department. We entered into an enterprise account with the idea that the people that use the water supply should pay for it. That was the general theory. That's what was sold to the taxpayer in our community. If you go to a pilot program for the water department, what you are saying to the water department, we want this sum of money. Now, for the water department to come up with that source of money, they have to take it from the people who pay the water bill. And then you're gonna take that sum of money and use it for the general expenses of the town. That is in complete contradiction to the concept of the enterprise account.
I agree. I agree with that statement.
Then why do you propose such a thing?
Because-
It's like beating a dead horse.
Can I speak? The reason why I'm proposing this is because Gerard Perry from the Division of DOR said that it wasn't under enterprise law. It wasn't under Chapter 44. It's under Chapter 164. That's his determination, that our water system is now run under Chapter 164, not under Chapter 44. If it was under Chapter 44, I agree, they should not pay a pilot payment. I'm not the one who made the determination. Gerard Perry did. This town needs money. If under 164, you can assess a pilot payment for both now water and light, then I believe we should do that.
You're going to get the taxpayers of the town to propose that the people that use water in this town pay money for the general support of the town finances?
I didn't come up with the opinion. Gerard Perry came up with it.
Well, I think
That was the
question
crux of the
doing what
issue.
is right for the citizens of our town.
It's under 164.
All right. Moving forward. Anybody else have?
Yes, thank you.
The next item on the agenda, we have two things in a row. We have Gary McEwen and Mr. Cobbleson of the newly created Phillipston Cable Advisory. And this is to discuss,
Mr. Chair, can we go with Mr. Culberson first, because it's very, very short, and I'm going to be very brief in my presentation.
okay?
Thank you. Philips had just approved its cable TV contract license, just renewed it. It's a 10-year license. 10 years ago, when the first one was done, and for the life of the cable system at Phillipston, we've been watching the Winchton public channel. We have not had any access to the Narragansett channel, even though we are part of the same school system. This time when we negotiated the contract with Comcast, we realized that, and we got it put in the contract that they would provide that, they would add the Narragansett channel to our cable TV lineup, replacing the Winchton public channel. The requirement, because the channel originates in the town of Templeton, Comcast is requiring an approval by the selectman chairman that it's okay to do that. Specifically, the article in our new contract states, the licensee that Comcast shall, within 180 days of receipt of a written request by the Templeton, Massachusetts Board of Selectmen, as issuing authority of that town, add the Narragansett Regional High School Educational Access Channel to the Phillipston channel lineup. Said regional educational access channel shall replace the Winchester Public Access Channel on said lineup. What they just said. There is no cost to to Templeton, and there is no liability associated with it for Templeton. You just need a letter signed by the issuing authority, so they can get the 180-day clock going. And then the letter actually that, I sent an example letter that only needs the Templeton, the town of Templeton's letterhead, and the signature basically is 3 sentences, one saying that they approve, and the other 2 sentences are basically saying there's no liability and no cost to Templeton. If there are any questions, I'm glad to respond. Is there anything else you need us to do to get that letter?
So what you're asking for is a letter from the Board of Selectmen to Comcast stating that we approve of Phillipston receiving the Channel 8 station that originates in Narragansett, originates in Templeton,
Yes.
with no cost.
There's no cost
To the town of
to
Templeton.
Templeton or liability. It's just an issue of you allowing it to happen. I don't know specifically what the actual work is that they will have to do, but from the tours that we've had of the facilities that are involved, I believe it's all inside the network. It's a matter of switching channels around, not running wires or anything.
Anyone have any objections to that?
Makes perfect sense.
Emphasizes no cost, no liability, so.
Now, is this wording that we have in our draft letter, this is the wording that
Yes.
you?
In fact, that first sentence was provided to me by Ms. Lyman, who's the contact that you're sending the letter to,
All right,
just to make sure that she gets exactly what she was looking for.
all right. I'm just trying to get it so I can word the motion,
Ah.
so they can draft the letter. I make a motion that we approve adding Narragansett Regional Access, Educational Access Channel to the Phillipston Cable TV channel lineup pursuant to Section 6.9 of the November 7th, 2013 Phillipston Renewal License, as requested that Comcast add the Narragansett Regional Educational Access Channel to the Phillipston Cable channel lineup. We will notify you in writing if, at any future date, we request that said channel be removed from said channel lineup. It is understood that this approval in no way affects Templeton Cable TV license and places no liability on the town of Templeton.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion, problems? Hearing none, seeing none. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And yes.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Next item on the agenda is Mr. McEwen on
PEG
Cable
access
TV.
support, and I'll be very brief. I did give Holly a package for the selectmen. Did you receive those packages? Again, it's there. Also, just something new that is going into effect. Just pass those. I do have extra informational packages, but I'll be brief in my presentation here and be more than willing to be on the next agenda as far as the conscientious of the time. My name is Gary McEwen. I've been a teacher in Narragansett for 32 years. I'm a history teacher, but the last 9 years I've been teaching broadcasting. purpose of being here tonight is get approval from the Board of Selectmen. They have the issuing authority for operating and approving purchasing access equipment. I had a conversation, informal conversation, with Mr. Bennett at a school committee meeting a while ago, and I wanted him to actually see how the students are videotaping school committee meetings and district-wide meetings like the sub-budget committee meetings. And so Mr. Bennett had the opportunity as far as to see the students working, and also the equipment that we had and the setup that we have in the Kiva. And he asked me to send him information, you know, and also to basically attend a selectmen meeting to discuss this, and this is just discussion. And we also talked about the possibilities of using access capital to install in the auditorium. The purpose of being here is to ask approval from the issuing authority of the sum of $50,000 from the PEG access capital. PEG is Public Education Government Support. Franchise fees that subscribers pay go into a separate account in the town, separate from the town account, for the sole purpose of purchasing equipment and personnel to operate the cable access station. Public Education and Government. I'm requesting $50,000 of available funds. From my knowledge and looking at your last town report, you have a sum of over $100,000 in the PEG access account. We're looking to install a robotic camera system in the Kiva that could be shared by all communities, public, education, and government. I have a representative here from Access AV to answer any questions or any questions I can't answer you may have in regards to this equipment. Purpose of using Access AV, great reputation. They have done neighboring cable access stations, Leominster, Fitchburg, Winchington. They will be doing Gardner. I've done research for the last 9 years. I've gotten bids and quotes from various companies, and they are just an impressive company that I would highly recommend. Phillipson will be going with them. So, the robotic studio would be robotic cameras, small studio type cameras, conference microphones, improved sound system and speakers, hearing impaired devices as far as that we all already have now for the public that have difficulty, hearing. It would be completely automated, where one person in a control room could basically run the video editing station. I want to read to you something that basically we are going to start implementing at the high school, middle school, is what we call a pathway curriculum. Our goal is to create a pathway for middle school and high school students to have the opportunity to experience a practical education in video and broadcasting production. If the robotic TV studio does become a reality, both the middle and high school students that select this pathway would have the hands-on experience working with the tools of the trade. We are the last of the hands-on type of curriculum at the high school. We don't have the metal, the shops. In the business and communication and technology department, the old business department, we are the last of the hands-on for those students that want those type of skills. So I'm asking, as far as the issuing authority, to approve $50,000 of available funds to be used for this robotic camera system. I'd also ask you to consider down the road, or with available funds here, to install a robotic camera system in the auditorium, where you have your town meetings, where you have concerts, where you have various school activities. So this will not just be as far as for the school. This would be a community shared facility that would just improve the communications and bring, hopefully, the community, an opportunity to bring the community, closer together. Has no cost to the taxpayers. It's from the subscriber's franchise fee what this capital comes from. In negotiations with Phillipson, and the experience I've learned is that Comcast wants you to be spending this money and using that cable access all the time. And the money's there. The money is there, the capital is there, and it'll be used directly for the students today, in the future. It will improve the quality of video on your cable access. So that is my presentation, and if you want to have further discussion at another meeting and consult your town accountant, a town administrator, I'd be more than willing to do that.
Speak right now, Jeff. Jeffrey.
Yes, Pete.
Last week, the man sitting right next to Mr. Robinson says, it's all your idea, Mrs. Miller don't want nothing to do with it. Now, who's telling the truth?
I have no knowledge of that.
You don't tell me, Gary, you don't.
All right,
Come on,
let's
come on.
keep it
Robinson
civil,
said,
keep it
"This is
civil,
what I
please,
wanna
all
do."
right? Bethany,
I'm wondering if that's the same account that we would be using to put in live access feeds for taping educational things at the senior center, the new construction senior center.
I believe when Steve Castle of the Templeton Cable Commission, that's, yes.
So then I ask that you make decisions keeping both projects in mind.
And the case was made by the Templeton Cable Commission. The reason that the amount in that account has been, that's around $100,000 or so, has been their wise use and planning. Looking forward, if a town hall was to be used, like these cameras, these video system in here, that money would go to pay for that. So selectmen meetings and other meetings can be taped and watched at home. And a lot of people watch this meeting, they don't come here, but they watch it. And we have had, we were on a roll for a while. There were a lot of meetings, advisory board and so forth, getting videoed along with school committee meetings. Because sometimes there are meetings that happen on the same day, time. You can't attend, you gotta like pick which one you really wanna go to, and then the other meetings you watch through that.
Mr. Chair.
And, hold on, and the reason I believe that amount of money is that high, that account is that high, is good planning and responsible action by that committee with those funds. So, and Mr. Castle did make that point a month or so ago, when they came before the board to explain that, how those funds come about, and why that money has been put aside. I believe they have bought some, they did buy some equipment over the Kiva.
The other thing to keep in mind too is the number of franchise fee subscribers you have. You're getting approximately $40,000 each year. So whatever you expend now, whether it's the senior center or in the Kiva or in the auditorium, you're getting this annually. And if there's specific needs, according to the intent of PEG access support, if there's a need in the service, then the cable operator, Comcast, expects you to use that money that the subscribers are paying for immediate needs. And in my opinion, the educational part of that is supposed to be impartial and fairly used. It's a great opportunity as far as to use available funds now to install a small TV studio in the Kiva that everybody will be able to use.
My question is, my thought, is the school is all about the kids. Is there any funding coming from the school budget
We have
for
been,
this program?
we have been using, as far as department money, everything in the Kiva that we've been using came from PEG access, around $15,000, and that's the equipment we're using now, along with updated cameras. And what allows us to go now is the district purchase, if you want me, beginning of the school year, superintendent came to me and gave us the charge, broadcasting charge, of providing programming for Channel 8, your cable access station, from 7 in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 days a week. That's 6 hours of programming that we're responsible for putting on your cable access. That more than rationalized it, the fact that the 50,000 is a small part of what we're providing you right now. But the school has provided, as far as equipment and money, of the equipment we're using now. I've been pursuing grants. I've been pursuing, as far as product donations. For 9 years, I've been trying to get this small TV studio done before I retire next year. And all I'm asking is for the PEG support to be used, and it's going to be used exactly the intent of the PEG access support. And this is the first time I've come to you, as far as the issuing authority, to have that amount approved. As a school, yes, they have, but it hasn't been a priority because of the budget constraints the schools have.
Because in your letter dated December 19th, 2013, you state, "It's been difficult and frustrating to obtain available funds from the school district,"
It has been.
which indicates to me that the school has been, or the school committee, which is charged with the budget, has been reluctant to fund a curriculum item within the school.
As far as with all the other things they have to fund, the math, the AP, the science, things like, they have to make decisions as far as prioritizing things. And they have given as much as they can to provide of what we have, with that. So I'm not asking taxpayers. I'm not asking the town account coming out. I'm asking as far as the intent of public education government support. Your surveys that you did 10 years ago stated that subscribers are willing to pay for what your franchise fees are paying. They would like to see on public access more Memorial Day services, concerts, athletic activities. The issuing authority has got to separate, as far as the town's account and the intent of public access. I don't need a decision. If you want to pursue this, if we want to further discuss it, because of the time, I'll be willing more back. Whatever the superintendent said, you'll have to ask her as far as what she
Well, I
she
ain't
had
said
said.
that, that's, the
All right,
selectman said it, Mr.
excuse
Robertson
me,
said it.
excuse me.
It was all your opinion.
If you wish to speak, please go through the chair as per the open meeting, all right?
So, on behalf of the students in the broadcasting class, this is my pursuit.
All right. Again, my thought, the thing that catches my eye is the district, the school. It seems from your letter they're unwilling to fund this.
Not unwilling, but they don't have the funds.
Well, I'm gonna, excuse me.
Yes, not the town.
This is, I probably should leave this alone, but when they redid the central office, and they were supposed to, they took money out of the E&D account, the excess and deficiency account. They took out $85,000 to do that, and they were supposed to create a music and art space separate for the children. And I would be interested to know if they ever followed through on that, because the last that I inquired, it had not been done. And they have, I think, like 180,000 in their E&D fund, so they certainly do have the money to put, and I would be after like a 50-50 arrangement, as far as taking cable access fee money to put towards this. They have the funds available. It seems like they have the lack of will to use them for a curriculum. Because I know this is going to be public access TV for the towns, but it's also part of a class, a teaching thing for the students. So I would think, and I would like to see the school committee have the will to use some money from their E&D fund, which they have, to fund some of this. Because as I said, the cable commission, the Templeton Cable Commission has come before the board and explained the how and whys that the account has that figure and what they are looking down the road to do with it. And like, which is smart, they don't want to just deplete the account down to, nothing. So when the senior center thing or anything else comes up, they will have funds available, and they won't have to say, well, we got to wait a year or two till we build it back up again, which, again, I believe is responsible planning with that monies on their part. And that's my opinion, for what it's worth. And I'm not saying no to you point blank, it's just,
Do you want me to go?
I think
Any
I think
action?
this will be further discussion, at least I would think that further discussion is needed for this. I would certainly like to see the
Recommendation
Templeton Cable Commission come back.
is to contact Comcast and ask as far as what their opinion on this is. Do they want?
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yes,
I'm curious from
and I see you two back there.
an academic standpoint. This thing you just gave us is the broadcasting club. So is the broadcasting only done as an extracurricular activity, or are there actual broadcasting classes part of the regular curriculum that students can take?
When we were given the responsibility to program from 7 to 1, we put it as a requirement that the students have to do 2 outside activities. And those activities are broadcasting of the school committee meetings, any kind of district-wide meeting that involves which is the town. So yes, it does in that.
So, but is there a class, if I was a
Yeah,
junior and I was looking through the course catalog, is there a broadcasting
Yes.
class
Yes,
that I
there
can
is.
take as part of my?
There's a broadcasting
normal-
class.
Okay.
And also, we're trying to create these pathways where 8 through 12 could choose a pathway and get experience in television production. And all we're
As an
trying
extracurricular.
to do is improve the quality of
Mhm.
the tools of the trade. We have an intern that is going to help me with Phillipson as far as program directing, and also in Templeton too, as far as everything done now that you see from 7 is done manually, not automated, so.
That's okay.
The school has helped out. In your opinion, they could do more. I've been frustrated myself. Here's another opportunity with available funds. I'll be more than willing to come back later. We do have, if you want to listen to the type of equipment that we have here, we do have the sales rep here that could tell you as far as what's going to be in the auditorium or what could be in the theater.
I'm still more interested in the curriculum. Is there only one broadcasting class that I can sign up for? Or do you have more than one class?
What we have is
it
media,
only
we have
offered-
media, which is kind of introductory and has television production in that. And then we have a broadcasting class, it's an elective, that you can have, it's a semester course. We also have Speaking for Success. But if you get into the whole intent of the educational portion of this, is it's the emphasis that you can bring technology into the classroom, not just broadcasting, everywhere. So this technology would be used not just in that one broadcasting class, but throughout the curriculum.
And by having, I mean, granted, I know everything's going the way of robotics and all of that, but the basic core values of how to operate a camera, holding it steady, making sure you don't have too much light, those types of things. If you go to these completely, basically robotic systems where all you're doing is running this joystick, you don't have to know all of that knowledge of truly how to broadcast.
Mr. Morrison, that's, in this quote, there are 2 studio cameras included, you know, with the lights, with the audio, with the switcher, with the mixer, that incorporates, integrates all the tools of the trade that you would be in. The purpose of the robotic is the cost, and also as far as it's permanent, you know, where your cable committee isn't setting up, isn't breaking down, it's permanent. That could be used throughout, you know, throughout the day.
But you still have to worry about things like lighting and picture and noise and so forth. It doesn't take that away from it.
Okay. The use of the Kiva, because you're looking to do a lot of this installation into the Kiva. Again, I'm not part of the school, I don't attend the school. The utilization of the Kiva, are there other classes other than broadcasting held in that? Are there lectures done in there?
Yes.
For other classes on a regular basis?
It's a multifunctional facility.
Right. So, but on a regular basis, that room is used for other types of curriculum?
I'm in
other
there
than-
all day, and even in my U.S. history classes, we don't do posters anymore. We do PowerPoints, we do documentaries. We are using that technology all the time. E-assignments, in the ability of the, well, let me say this. Mr. Haig is from Access AV, is about the advantage of the robotic and this multi-TV studio.
I'd be happy to address the committee if you're interested in hearing this part. The suggestion that we put before them is to create a multi-use technology system that would allow both robotic cameras to be used for government meetings, lectures, education, maybe the school committee might meet there, while at the same time using the same control room for efficiency of monies and space to also be used in an educational facility as a production facility, 2 production cameras that would not be robotically controlled, but would teach students how to use standard studio cameras and all of the disciplines that go along with that. They would share a control room and perhaps in the future additional spaces within the school buildings such as the auditorium or perhaps even the gym could also have camera feeds that could come into that room and allow for more community participation, sporting events, town meetings and the like also being controlled out of that space.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could you give him some recommendations as to what you would like to see going forward as far as, so that it might better have a chance of. No, you-
What kind of action do you want me to do?
What are you looking for him to do?
50-50 with school committee? I mean, I'm looking,
That would be, that's not the word of the board, that's what I personally.
and that's all I need.
would
And
look
if you
for.
guys decide next time
And
you're not interested?
I would like to speak with, that's okay. Like for the Templeton Cable Commission, like
Sure.
Steve Castle, to come back in front of the board and pose that to him to see how they feel on that, as well as get his insight as to the year-to-year receipts for the cable fees and things
Sure.
like that.
Okay.
And, yes, and then I got 2 people in the audience.
I would like to see the survey that the Cable Commission asked. I think it was given to you and then it was given to the superintendent of
Never was
schools.
given to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I would like to see that information because I think that was a valid document, a good exercise to justify what was going on. I would also like a breakdown year by year of how much, what equipment the school has actually purchased for your program.
Sure.
So then we can do a comparison, and I believe, once we get that information, and we ask I think we need the input from our cable commission.
Sure.
Bev?
I think that we have a cable commission, and it would be a real insult to them if you walked in and said, I want $50,000, and they said, oh yeah, here you go. That's not okay, because these people have maintained the money, they have plans, I would imagine, so I think you need to work through them.
Mr. Chair, I have.
Okay.
I have done on numerous occasions, met, and I did go to a
Well, they
cable access committee.
It should be up to them.
And they are an advisory group. They said it was excessive. I wasn't getting anywhere with them. And so, on behalf of the kids, I went to the issuing authority.
Still, they have.
Dave?
Chair, my question is about the money. He says there's 100,000 in the account now, and I think I heard him right, he said there's another 40,000 coming next year. That's 140 grand. If there's no plans to use it yet, I think something should be done with that money. There's no sense in putting money in an account, letting it sit there, and not getting any benefit from it, because at a certain point, they may say, well, you haven't used it, we're not gonna give you it.
They have to.
I think we see CPC money just sitting around. Could be working for us too.
Correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of the cable commission is they are the controlling body of that money, number one. Number two is that when he came before you, yes, he said that there's 40,000 coming in, but some of that is spent, so, I mean, they're actually, they're using less than the 40,000 every year, but they have expenses every year. I mean, that was my understanding when he came, so I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of that whole thing, so it's really up to, I would think it's really up to them.
They have been planning, as Bethany said, when the senior center building is finished and the food pantry, food bank is gonna move over to there, and there was discussion of a small broadcast studio or something put in there, which I believe, like, the amount of money coming in per year for the cable fees, they do have plans for that. That's, their intent, they were thinking about doing. Because I even inquired, well, if you put in a small studio, could we have something going on in there? And it was a space thing, but it wasn't, they didn't say, no, there's not enough room. It was, look into it. It's not a huge building, but I do know that's one of the things that they put forth discussing about. So, yes, it seems like, there is a chunk of money sitting there, but they do have a plan in that instance for when that happens. And, at one time, it was going to be January to open, and I think it was even earlier, and now it's a little later down the road for some things that are out of people's control. As far as, they plan on having building things and construction stuff done, and then there's been missteps and bumps along the way. So that's why I, again, would like to hear from Steve Castle and just inquire about that and get a firm figure, dollar figure and things in on those plans. That was something that they did touch base on when they were here last, was that one thing. Yes, Diane?
So the plans for, I'm all about education, and I agree that I would like to see more of things done at the school, and I know that parents and other people, grandparents have said to me, oh, I really wish that we could see the concerts because we can't come out at night, or I really wish that we could see the football game or the sports game, or, all of those things. And then it would have been nice when we had that big overflow joint town meeting that all of that was able to, I can't hear in there. I can't hear in here. So, having, I'm sorry, it's just, it's a fact of life. I don't really like to, talk about that. If I can't see your lips, I really can't hear you. But it's a matter of updating, and some of these kids aren't in the normal mainstream in school and need things like this. So if there are plans at the senior center too, it's public education, government, thank you. And what were the, I guess I would wanna know some of the plans that, which are great, is there a way to share some of that? It's, you know, the plans for the town hall are here already? I mean, do we have, like, do we know where we're going? So how many more years is that gonna be before we move out of here into somewhere else to have, when there's an immediate need right now, that we could all be sharing as a community? Is really my thought on that when I read through all of that.
Mr.
So
Chair,
whatever is to be at the senior center, I think that's still a great idea. And that if it's 100,000 and another 40,000, the need is now. So the need would be for you right now. The need would be for the school right now. You know, the school has budget constraints just like the town does. So you can't just, you know, you have to make decisions. Are we gonna, which cuts are we gonna make? You know, do we cut the police department or do we cut the, you know, we have to make all those tough decisions, and so does the school, and so do all the budgets, you know, all the department heads. So I think if the need is there now, then, you know, and if the money is just sitting there and not really going, it's for education for all of you. I mean, I agree, there should be both.
I'd be more than willing to continue
So, but to have all those
discussion at another
things,
meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
all those numbers would be nice.
Thank you.
And whatever survey was, I didn't know about a survey, but I did read through all this, I thought it was awesome.
No, I'll follow that right up.
Thank you.
Question through you.
Yes, Pete?
Diane's saying all this here. Mr. Robinson sat right next to her a week ago, and he said, Mrs. Miller and that doesn't want anything to do with that project.
I
Who sat right there,
honestly,
listened to him?
I honestly don't remember talking about this and hearing, I don't remember last week that, I don't. So I don't remember talking about this public education.
He talked right there.
That
He
may
said-
have been
he
the
said it was
week
Mrs.
before.
Miller don't
Did you
want
talk
that.
about that the week
was-
before
she
and
was
I
not on
wasn't
the board
here?
then. That was when Steve Castle was here. She
Yeah, I was
on the
not
board.
here for that one, I'm sorry. I really don't remember
he-
that.
Did make that point.
But I would, sorry, thank you.
But he did make
Yeah.
that, Mr. Robinson did
I
make that.
think it was on the
point.
13th.
Next item?
All right, thank you very much for coming. All right. Discuss on relocating out of 690 Patriots Road. Mr. Morse.
Yeah, I asked for this item because we're going to very quickly be faced with the decision of, we're going to be very quickly faced with the decision of renewing the lease in this location. When this occurred last year, we were in those negotiations, probably was late May. The landlord at that point, was looking for more money. We impressed upon him that we didn't have that budgeted. He finally agreed to let us continue to lease the same amount of space for the same amount of money, with the caveat that next year, we're probably not gonna get that same deal. So the rent's gonna go up. Rents are just gonna continue to go up. Paying rent is not a very good use of our money. It's not making any kind of investment. So I really think, and we had this discussion back when we made the decision to renew the lease, that we've gotta come up with a plan before next year. And here we are, 5 months away from the next year, and we've never even discussed it yet. So, the alternatives we have, if we move out of here, is to move into like East Templeton, because it's empty. We could put some people back into the town clerk's building. 10 years ago when we moved to town, in the town clerk's building, there was the town clerk, there was the tax collector, there was the selectman's office, the treasurer's office, and the accountant's office. We're all in that one building. Yep, everybody was on top of one another, and I agree 100% that that's not a good choice. But if it's that versus paying the rent, by July, though, the new senior center will be open. We could potentially use the lower level
Hopefully not that
there.
long. Hopefully not that long.
You know, we could potentially use some of the lower level there that's not gonna be in use yet. Scout Hall will be available then at that point. So I think we're gonna have to be, you know, creative, and come up with, what can we do to not rent. And if East Templeton, you know, isn't an option in July, then that rent money we should be putting aside into capital stabilization for use of getting East Templeton ready. So, I mean, it's just, we can't, you know, we just can't sit back and, you know, think this problem isn't gonna come again. It is, and it's just gonna be right around the corner. The landlord was encouraging us, or, you know, strongly suggesting that we take more space. I forget, we have, 5,000 square feet here, basically, and there's another, 3,000 or 4,000 that's available here that he was, you know, trying to get us to take. That would allow us to move the people out of the town clerk's building, because that building is in terrible shape, needs to be bulldozed, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to get this conversation started because, we're, you know, we're just flushing money if we keep renting.
And I believe his proposed rent amount to take the further space available is around $82,000. We're paying, you know, $50 for this little space and a couple 3 rooms back that way, and I believe that's a total 7,500 square feet or so. If you do the square footage cost, East Templeton building for temporary doesn't look so bad. $80,000 is a lot of money for this little space, just to rent. I don't know what the commercial rate would be if, you know, just like a business came in here to rent this space, but it seems rather high.
It depends on what kind of business it is, as to what a commercial rate would be.
But the square footage, I think the square footage cost, it may or may not.
It's not what that is.
But, well, it's just how if I was gonna rent X amount of space for $82,000, I would just figure out how much I'm paying per square foot. And then look at the cost of constructing new square foot, the cost of renovating per square foot. But I may do business in a strange way. Yes?
Doug is correct, because in conversation with myself and the coordinator, and just think and refresh your memories, when you talked when he was talking and negotiating for last year, by the end of February, he wants to know whether we're staying or not in this building. So you only have a month to make that decision, because after that, you're going to be negotiating if they can end up staying here. And like you said, that was last year's price. This year's price will be even more. So I have to agree with Doug, is that the decision has to be made as to what we're going to end up doing because of the expense, number one. Number two, the deadline to take and decide when we're gonna be, if we're vacating this building, is gonna have to be done by the end of February. I believe that was the deadline he gave us to take and end up giving him an amount. I mean, that's,
Right, that was
to take a
very
stay or
close,
not.
Yeah, he wants discussions to begin, so to know.
Right.
And he indicated he does not want, you know, a vote or sign like in July or, you know, after the fact, extended it, as was done this past year, we'll go a few months past the thing. He's looking for a yes or no, you know, you're gonna stay, and then a commitment.
Right.
With taking the additional space at that $30,000 plus increase.
Right, and the other part of that was last year, he wanted a 3-year lease.
Yes.
So he's not only looking for increasing the price, and potentially increasing the space, but increasing the commitment.
This might be
So-
also a budget item that we should be looking at, whether we can afford to stay here. That puts us additional money, $30,000 above and beyond what we're paying this year. That's on top of what we see as increases already, and we already know we have a shortfall.
And even if we did move the town clerk people over here, we would gain some savings from there, but it would not be $30,000 worth of savings, so.
Or if it was, it would just go out to the rent, so you end up saving zero.
Right.
The 3-year thing was, we have been, the last couple of years, like extending the last multi-year lease, and he does not want to do that anymore, hence he wants another, a 3-year commitment. That was done originally, and then it's been extended a few times. So, on top of the increased rent, the increased space, is the 3-year commitment. Yes?
When I was on the Board of Health in the 70s, the fumes in the town clerk's office building were so bad that we had to have a ditch dug on the riverside of the building and fill it with stone so that the volatile fumes would dissipate. Nobody should be in that building.
Needs
The
to be
fumes,
moved.
I asked the girls, does it bother you in here? I think they have a fan going down cellar. They said no, but it really is decrepit.
Yeah, we're probably not gonna know by the, I'm sorry.
Or East Templeton.
We're not gonna know by the end of February if we can actually go to East Templeton or not, because we'll talk about that when we do the CPC. But we're gonna have to make the decision, so that's why I kind of pointed out what our other alternatives might be. I don't know if there's any more space at 2 School Street that we could utilize. It could be.
We could move that fire department out of there. We could take this.
Those no good bumps.
He's making all these improvements, we could slide right in.
Kids are up good for it.
Yes,
Just so
Diana.
happens that Larry and Luann and I were talking this morning. And on a very temporary basis, I stress very temporary.
Be careful about the house guests you invite in, we may not leave.
That's it. That's the problem.
Very temporary. We could take in 4 people. Very temporary.
Like
Like-
5 years, maybe?
No! A couple of months. We talked, we could put 2 in the back room over on Luann's side and a couple upstairs in Larry's office, or in their meeting.
We'll just
Very temporary.
I know,
pick
but
the fire chief out.
that building is not ADA accessible.
it's not.
Either.
And
It's not. I mean, I catch people before they go up to the building department and shuttle stuff. And the fire department.
Yes, Bethany.
Scout Hall currently has 6 workstations. If you took out the meeting spaces that we have in the middle, you could definitely fit more in there. And the town owns the cubicles to be able to do that.
When are we gonna be able to kick you out of there?
As soon as possible.
I know you're working very hard and fast.
We
on
are,
it,
the
'cause-
committee is working extremely hard.
Well, I know who cracks the whip down there.
Is it gonna be done by the 1st of July?
Yes, Diane.
I think with a $505,000 shortfall, we might not be able to afford to stay here, but, we'd have to fix East Templeton with money from where? We don't have it. So how do you ask the taxpayers to do that also? So I think that, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, we are. And, that it's not good for them to be at the town clerk's office and you're not out yet and you can only fit in so many people and you want to do it in a small time frame. But I can't see the town taking on any more debt at this time. I don't see how we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, can we?
There's already
combine
debt
the
here that we
CPC
know that we
discussions?
have to pay and we have to, I think that's what the public is looking for, is what are some anticipated expenses? We know what that's gonna be. What are the budget cuts gonna be? If there are gonna be some, that's what they're But how would we know that by the end of February? We're not even having a special town meeting until
Well,
March.
the budget cuts would be for this fiscal year in
Right.